Hey there, everyone. Thank you for pressing play. I appreciate it. Today, the video I wanted to upload is about when God is stretching us beyond the normal capacity of our comfort zones. This is a very, very personal subject for me because I'm going through a season of being stretched like no other. Like, I would say that this is the most that I have felt the stretching of God in this season, because I'm asking God for great and marvelous things, and God is in the process of doing these things, and He's in the process of preparing me to receive blessings that He has purposed and promised for me. But He's not going to give me something that I'm not willing to obtain or I'm not able to be a good steward over. So I have to go through seasons of maturity. I have to go through seasons of being stretched. And this is a very, very, very touchy subject, I'm sure, for each of us. But I just really wanted to share some of the things that the Lord has truly ministered to my heart concerning. And I truly pray that it's a blessing for you. I pray that you can take this video and share it with those who are also being stretched. By no means is it about how many likes I get on my videos, but it is about the lives, the hearts, and the souls that it touched. So share the video if you are being stretched, or someone else you know or close to is being stretched beyond the boundaries of their comfort zones. Please share the video, and I pray that it is a blessing to you. So what I have realized in these times and seasons of being stretched beyond my comfort is that we all will find ourselves, as long as we are living, as long as we have a life and breath in our body, it's an ever learning and growing experience. You think of a plant, and no one has to tell a plant what its purpose is. A plant is supposed to grow. A plant is supposed to produce. I don't have to go to a rose bed in my garden and tell it how much to grow each day, because it produces after its own kind. It serves its purpose. That's what I want to talk about on today. You and I are like plants, and each and every day we should be fruitful. Each and every day we should grow in an area. And I'm not saying this for condemnation or for you to be hard or bad, feel bad about where you are, because we all grow differently. But we all should grow daily. Grow in the knowledge and the understanding of God. Grow in our word. Grow in our intimate relationship. Grow in the way we treat others. We should be fruitful in all these things, because the Bible says that He is the gardener, and He cuts off everything that does not bear the fruit that it should. And if we're not bearing fruit, that means we're not being fruitful. That's our purpose, is to bear fruit. And I realize that when I'm going through these times of being stretched, when I'm going through these seasons of being tried, that I'm going to be proven. And when I go in, initially it doesn't feel good, and I really want to give up. Finding the temptation to give up or to give in to what you're going through is a very, very real place to be in. But what you do in the midst of that opposition shows where your faith and where your loyalty, where your trust is. And if our trust is in God, we'll stand in the midst of these things. We'll stand in the midst of opposition. We'll stand in the midst of persecution. We'll stand in the midst of being stretched, because He's maturing us and He's preparing us to receive something greater than where we are. So I realized that running from these seasons, these God-ordained seasons, was really running from my blessing. I was running from my growth. I was running from the maturity. I was running from a greater faith. And I just wanted to share this video with you all, that when you're fighting the temptation to give in or to give up, go to God and ask God to be your source. Ask God to give you grace, and even if it means to suffer. At church last Sunday, we have a testimony service, and I love it because you get a chance to hear so many different testimonies about the lives of others, and how God is just blessing all of us, and how God is maturing us, whether it's through a good situation or even a trying situation. There is a blessing in it. And I realize that when God is in something, He will preserve you. So if you are in a season of being long-suffering, persecuted, even if you are wroughly wrong, God will sustain you. The Bible says He will never put more on us than we can bear. And then when it gets to the point that you cannot bear, He will always provide a way of escape. And that normally is our prayer. Lord, provide a way of escape because I cannot do this. This is too much. Come on, guys. Let's be real. I myself do it. I cannot do this, Lord. Provide a way of escape because this is too much. But I realize that that's not God's will all the time. Now, the Lord knows what we can take, and the Lord knows what we cannot take. So if you're finding yourself still in that situation, in the midst of that storm, in the midst of that season of being stretched beyond the boundaries of the places where you found comfort, it's because God is enlarging your territory. It's because God is preparing you for greater. So ask God to show you his ways, show you how to develop the godly character that we're supposed to develop in the midst of these seasons of being stretched and tried, because we will also become proven. And I just wanted to share that initially when I first started to go through the season of my own, I began to murmur, I began to complain, I began to just the desire to give in to everything that I felt was very overwhelming, and it had the potential to consume me. But I thank the Lord that he will never allow his sheep to stray too far. But I thank the Lord that he will even allow us to make mistakes so that we can be helpers one to another. So as I begin to complain, as I begin to murmur, I realize that while I am complaining, God still is good. He still is providing. Even though things are not perfect, even though my job, the atmosphere is not right, and I am being stretched and I am being humbled, and I thank you that the flesh and the pride has to die, God still is good. So as I came home one day after work, I began to realize that just as the Israelites did, they complained and they murmured against the very will of God. God gave them a promise to inherit the promised land. And because of their ungrateful hearts, a lot of them were not able to see the promise of God. 40 years they wandered in the desert because of their ungrateful hearts. They wanted to go back to what was comfortable. God provided food. He didn't allow their clothes to wither. He didn't allow their shoes to be destroyed. But still that wasn't enough. They complained. And until that generation of complainers died off, their children were not able to go into the promised land. So once that generation of murmurers and complainers and those who were ungrateful and rebellious, they died off, then their children were able to receive what God had fully intended to give to them. Wow. That right there was a huge revelation for me, because it allowed me to see myself. And I began to examine myself and where I was. Yes, I am in a season of being stretched. Yes, I may even have every reason to complain. But I know that God is in this season of stretching. And if this is a season of God stretching me, why shall I put my mouth on his will? So I realized in the midst of that I had the potential to be just like the Israelites. I was no different, actually, from the Israelites. I have food, I have shelter, I have a car, I have money, I have a job. Things are not perfect, so I complain. Things are not the way I want them, so I complain. The blessings aren't coming in the way that I think they should come, so I become doubtful and I lose faith. And I want to go back to what is comfortable. That right there is what I want to talk to you about on today. What you are feeling in the midst of your seasons of being stretched beyond your normal capacity is what God really is trying to deal with. So while it may be a work issue, or it may be a personal issue at home, it may be a financial issue, it may be a pride thing, it may be a faith thing, whatever it is, allow God to complete that good work that he has already started. Allow God to perfect it. Allow God to take away the old mindset and give you a new. Allow God to take away the worldly view and give you godly character and show you how to stand in the midst of persecution, stand in the midst of opposition and adversity, and allow God to use you as an example. Because I realize if I go in my job with the same mindset as everyone else and I complain like everyone else, I'm just kind of blended in, right? So who's going to be the example? We are called to be the salt, the light of this world. But if we're kind of blending in with everybody else and complaining with everybody else, doubting with everybody else, losing our faith with everybody else, being double-minded just like everybody else, we're no different from the Israelites. And I'll be honest, guys, that absolutely broke my heart when I realized that I too am capable of being ungrateful. I too am in a place where I'm being blessed beyond measure, even in ways that I don't even realize. Even if it means I have to suffer. If I'm doing it for righteousness' sake, that's my blessing. There was a time when I was out here in the world and I suffered just because I suffered. I had no hope. I had no faith. I suffered because that was my inheritance. I had no salvation. I had no faith. But because my faith is in the Lord, because I have been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of my testimony, when I suffer for righteousness' sake. So why not God use my suffering as an example? But if I'm not careful and I complain and I murmur and I doubt and I fret, I have the potential to lead others astray. I have the potential to lead people down that same crooked road that I'm going down. But because I know better, I choose today to allow God to stretch me beyond my comfort zone. Take me out of that place where I'm most comfortable and place me in a position of destiny. Because I realize every time that the Lord has took me in a season of being stretched, I came out. But I did not come out until I closed my mouth. I took my mouth on this God-ordained season in my life and I began to thank Him because He is good. So I encourage you as well as myself, while we all are being stretched in some way, shape, form, or fashion, or in every way, shape, form, or fashion, don't deem it as the enemy. Maybe that's the point. Maybe God has to get us to the place of total, absolute powerlessness, where our guards are absolutely done, where your power is zapped out. Because in that place, He takes over. When things begin to get to the place where they seem bigger than you, where the odds are against you, where everything around you is consuming you, all we have to do is look up, because that's when God steps in. And I realize when I am being stretched, there's always this tug of war. My flesh wants to do this. My spirit is anchored in the Lord. My flesh wants to give up. My pride wants to tell someone about their self. But my spirit is blessing the Lord. So I realize that this is something that we will have to fight and war with while we are living in this flesh. The Bible says there is not one good thing in it. I do not care how long you have been saved. I know how much you love the Lord. I know how much I love Him. But let's be honest, we all have some weakness. We all have some flaw. We all have some war and battle with our flesh. And the only way we will be able to overcome them is through Christ. So while we're being stretched beyond our comfort zones to go through focusing on the Lord and looking towards the hill for which cometh our help. And remember, we walk by faith and not by sight. And I challenge you as well as myself, instead of complaining, instead of doubting, instead of getting fearful or angry or resentful, instead of giving up, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your way straight. He will direct your path. You think of a potter's wheel, and the potter has this lump of clay, and in the beginning it is formless, it looks useless. But as it begins to mold and shape and tug and pull, the end result is beautiful. You are on the potter's wheel, so am I. Our destinies may go in different places, but God has a purpose for each of our lives. Just as the plant serves its purpose, so shall I, so shall you. Just as the sunlight was purposed to bring light to the whole world, so were you. So in whatever area or capacity that the Lord has called you to, walk by grace and faith. So I pray grace and peace to you all, and I really pray that this was encouraging to you. And I just encourage you all to stand in the midst of these seasons of being stretched beyond your normal capacity. You all have a wonderful rest of your week.